Alright, well, my video editing skills suck. But can the same be said for Godzilla? Stick around and find out. Alright, so, Godzilla. In the mid-early 1950s, the nation of Japan discovered an ancient species of giant monster creature deep underground, and they were like, oh no, we gotta blow it up! And so they throw nukes at it and stuff, but said all the nukes were testing and stuff, and then eventually the creature went away, and they're like, oh good, okay, a time of peace is upon us. Years and years and years pass, and then suddenly there are rumblings, and more creatures are coming up. What's going on? So there you go. And there's Godzilla too. And they're causing havoc. And oh no, who's gonna survive? And what do we do about all these creatures? Will Godzilla maybe save the day? Alright. Not a great movie. You know, it's got some good things about it. Okay, let's talk about the performances. You got Aaron Taylor Johnson, who you would recognize from the Kick-Ass movies. You got Ken Watanabe, who you'd recognize from Christopher Nolan movies. You know, he was Ra's al Ghul in the what do you call it, Batman Begins, and then he was also in Persnickety or Perception or Prosthesis, or what's that one where they go... I don't think it has anything to do with any of those words, where they go, Inception. Boy, that sounds nothing like prosthesis. But he was in that too. So he was in this movie. And then Bryan Cranston, who you'd know from Breaking Bad and almost being Lex Luthor, I guess. And he's a bad guy in lots of stuff. Anyway, you got a great cast in this movie, at least with those three. And the ensemble cast, everybody does a fine job. There's a few other familiar faces, you know. They're giving good performances too. You know, they got some great moments. Bryan Cranston at the beginning, he's got some really wonderful moments that despite, I feel like, the film not earning them with the script and giving time to what his character was experiencing, the weight that he brought to his performance started having an effect on me. Not quite, not fully, because the film itself didn't give it time, the time it needed for the weight of that drama to really affect me. But he was bringing his A game. I mean, it's really good stuff, and I feel like, you know, Aaron Taylor Johnson was doing a great job too. So I have no complaints there. The visual effects, lots of cool monster CGI. You know, if you're a fan of big monster movies, and I don't mean monster movies that are big, I mean movies that are about big monsters, you know. So you got Pacific Rim, and you got what's that one? Does Super 8 qualify? No, it doesn't qualify. What's that other one where it was like all on like a video camera and they're running around buildings, and it was by J.J. Abrams, and the whole city was being torn apart? That movie, whatever that one was. As you can tell, I didn't do as much homework in preparing for this review. This is almost the equivalent of what I would call a phoned-in review. But I didn't end up doing that format because I don't feel like they were really phoning in this movie. They were just hanging on to some things they didn't need to hang on to that I think hurt the film. But the visual effects, you know, it's cool CGI monsters. The visual design of the monsters is cool. But I would have gone a different direction with Godzilla. It looks like just kind of an enhancement of a giant dude in a suit, you know. So I think purists, fans that love the Godzilla movies, they're probably gonna like this movie because it's like a superficial Hollywood treatment, or maybe just saying maybe better, a Hollywood budget being thrown at a Godzilla movie, you know. But it's not a reinvention. It's not a reimagining, really. It's in many ways, what little I know of the source material, I see it as being very faithful to the feel of what those movies are about, you know. The music is very traditional musical choices in this. I mean, it fades into the background, really. It's just kind of the same Jurassic Park-y type of stuff. Really, it's the story and the script that I think fail this movie. It's so convenient. The story is it's very Hollywood convenient, you know. Like and I don't want to go on, for those of you who do want to go in pure, I don't want to spoil story elements, but let me think of an example. Okay, so you've got those movies where like everybody's like a horror movie, where like people are getting killed off left and right, and like there's like two people left, and they're both good friends, and the monster kills off one of them, and then and you feel really bad. Oh man, he got killed off. I like that guy, and then the hero, which is the last one surviving, we call the hero in horror movies. They're getting backed into a corner, and all is lost, and then their dead friend shows up and stabs the monster in the back. And then the monster wails on him some more, but it gets hurt in the process. And so then the monster falls off and goes to lick its wounds. And the friend, who's really going to die now because of these more recent injuries, they just don't have any more of that, I love you so much, I'm going to do whatever I can to save you, super duper strength to summon up. They don't have any of that left. So then they really have their proper death scene. And, I'm just talking about these kind of Hollywood kind of conventions that are just convenient, that... I felt the whole movie, I wasn't concerned about anybody, and it's not because the actors weren't portraying that they were trying hard and they were doing stuff. It was because everything was, even despite that, it was convenient. I never felt like things were spinning really far out of control. I never thought to myself, oh my gosh, how are they going to get out of this mess? Because I just saw, 5 messes that they got out of, that there is ridiculous providence involved in rescuing them from those things. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not worried. I know how they're going to get out of this mess. Ridiculous providence will save them, So it was a big disconnect for me in this movie. So I'm not going to talk about it really at length anymore. It's just very standard. It is a B monster movie in the classic sense. Like, I like monster movies that, like the more modern ones, like Jeepers Creepers, and I guess if you want to call the 80s ones modern too, I do, because by comparison to the 50s and 60s, they are the modern breed, So you got John Carpenter's The Thing, Predator. I would even put the first Terminator movie in that category. You got, oh my gosh, what's that movie that I really like? Crap. I want to say it's like Falling Skies, The Sky is Falling, or something crap. Yeah, I wish I could tell you because it's a much better movie, but than this one. But anyway, yeah, if you're a fan of classic, like 1950s monster movies, then probably go see this in theaters. If you like, say, Pacific Rim, go see this in theaters. If you're more into like the what's that movie? It's kind of like an indie movie called Monsters, I think, where this couple is traveling abroad and they're kind of on the run as these giant monsters start walking all over the land, and there's weird tentacles in the background, and you never quite get a good look at the monsters, kind of like in the J.J. Abrams flick. If you like that kind of giant monster movie, this isn't that. Although I will say that they should have showed the monsters a whole lot more and the people a whole lot less. But the people were there. They needed the people because the people were there to tell us who to root for. They're like, boy, nukes aren't doing it. What are we going to do? And then Ken Watanabe, the representative of the Japanese culture and the resident fan of Gojira, he comes on and he says, we must let nature run its course and Gojira will save us. My gosh. I mean, he didn't actually say that, but they were going to put all these nukes out and stuff, and that was going to put people at risk. And he was like, no, Gojira will defeat the monsters, So if you like that kind of movie, go see Godzilla. There's really not anything going on in the way of relevance in this movie. Ken Watanabe does say at one point, right around that point in the movie where he says, let's let Godzilla save us. He says the arrogance of man is thinking that nature is under his control and not the other way around. That's a bit of a paraphrase, I think, of the line. So that was kind of a statement there, we ought to have respect for the power of nature, and not be, so it's the lesson of Titanic, it's, so yeah, that's a nice little beat there. It's like, yeah, okay, that's a word of wisdom. Is that really going to provide a moment of takeaway? No, I don't think so. I mean, this movie is not out to say anything. It's out to say, hey, here comes two monsters. I think they're going to beat the crap out of each other. Let's root for that one. Because for some reason, he's not interested as much in destroying... Like there's a moment when Godzilla is walking out of the city, and they've got this thing in the news background, saying something like calling him King of Monsters. Is this the savior of our city, or whatever? And I'm thinking to myself, look where he's stepping. I think he's probably statistically stepping on people. I don't think that's avoidable. This is kind of a weird movie. If you're not into giant monster movies of the 50s and 60s, if you're not into those, there's going to be some weird conventions that you're going to have to adapt to. Anyway, it's rated PG-13 for intense sequences of destruction, mayhem, and creature violence. I give it a quality score of 7.0 out of 10, a relevant score of 5.0 out of 10. If you want to know about the scoring system that we use at Christian Geek Central, go over to ChristianGeekCentral.com for lots of community and fun and other good stuff. I hope you'll join us there soon as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. Okay, where is that? This is new software. It's a new camera. Could you tell it's a new camera? What do you think? Let me know what you think. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe and all that stuff I'm supposed to say.